Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I thought we could just take a little look through the dictionary of cultural literacy, what every American needs to know. This book is from 1993, but most of it's still, current enough. So there's the Bible, mythology and folklore, proverbs, idioms, physical science and math, earth science, geography, politics, medicine and health. I wonder what's in that section. Let's see. That looks interesting to us. 523. Jesse James. That reminds me, I got a book about the Old West we gotta look at sometime. How outdated will medicine and health be, I wonder? Don't know. I do think our country needs a little education about it, apparently. Medicine and health. Let's see, abdomen, abdominal cavity. Oh, it's folded up. Alzheimer's disease, a disease in which mental capacity decreases because of the breakdown of brain cells. Alzheimer's disease is a major cause of loss of intellectual function in middle-aged and elderly people. Angioplasty, a surgical technique in which a catheter containing a small balloon is inserted into arteries around the heart. The balloon is inflated to compress deposits of fatty substances blocking the artery, thereby restoring the flow of blood. A friend of mine, her husband, who's in his early 50s, and he's, pretty healthy eater and exercises and everything. He started to feel like he was having, I think, irregular heartbeat. I think that's what brought him into the doctors. And they ended up finding out one of his arteries was like 98% clogged or something. And they did this and now it's 0%. But it's so scary. How do you know beforehand? Antibodies, proteins in the blood that are produced by the body in response to specific antigens. Anticoagulants, substances that slow down or prevent blood clotting. Look, it says anus. Astigmatism, a condition in which the curvature of the cornea of the eye is uneven, causing a blurring of vision. Astigmatism is normally corrected by glasses. Arthritis, inflammation of tissues in the joints, usually resulting in pain and stiffness. Autonomic nervous system, the part of the nervous system that controls involuntary functions of the body, those not controlled consciously, such as digestion, the beating of the heart, and the operation of glands in the endocrine system. Excuse me, sorry. Benign, a descriptive term for conditions that present no danger to life or well-being. Benign is the opposite of malignant. The term benign is used when describing tumors or growths that do not threaten the health of an individual. Do you remember the episode of Seinfeld where George, the doctor, calls and says, it's benign, and he's like, oh my God, because he doesn't know what it means. Biological clock. The innate rhythm or behavior and body activity in living things, a 24-hour cycle of body activity, which operates in some organisms, is called the circadian rhythm. Although the term biological clock refers to all innate timing mechanisms, it is often used when describing certain body functions that are subject to this rhythm, such as the loss of fertility as we age. Here's the brain, the cerebral cortex, the pituitary gland, the thalamus, the cerebellum, the medulla, the spinal cord, the skull on the outside, the brain, a central organ in the nervous system protected by the skull. The brain consists of the medulla, which sends signals from the spinal cord to the rest of the brain and also controls the autonomic nervous system. The pons, a mass of nerve fibers connected to the medulla. The cerebellum, which controls balance and coordination. The cerebrum, the outer layer of which, the cerebral cortex, is the location of memory, sight, speech, and other higher functions. The cerebrum contains two hemispheres, the left brain and the right brain, each of which controls different functions. In general, the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body and such functions as spatial perception, while the left hemisphere controls the right side of the body and such functions as speech. Under the cerebral cortex are the thalamus, the main relay center between the medulla and the cerebrum, and the hypothalamus, which controls blood pressure, body temperature, hunger, thirst, sex drive, and other visceral functions. It's wild. Bubonic plague, a highly contagious disease, usually fatal, affecting the lymphatic system. The bubonic plague is caused by bacteria transmitted to humans by rat-borne fleas. From 1347 to 1351, a disease known as the Black Death, similar to the bubonic plague, entered Europe from Asia and killed a large percentage of the population, sometimes wiping out entire towns. It caused widespread social changes in Europe. Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Sorry, my throat's just... CPR, cartilage, the circulatory system. Have you ever seen, oh shoot, I can't think of the name of it. I'll do a video on it sometime. But there's like, I won't try to explain it. There's a woman and a guy mapped out all her veins. And she's like hanging in Harvard or somewhere, I forget. Okay, I'll have to do some remembering research because I've forgotten. But what do we have here? We have jugular vein, the carotid artery. Left pulmonary artery to lung, heart. Here's the spleen. Ugh, I'm watching Love is Blind UK, and there's this guy. He's such a. Ugh, he just bugs me, and he's like, I have to follow my spleen. My spleen tells me what to do. It's like, shut up. Blood vessels feeding intestines. It's crazy. It's wild, wild, wild. All right. Conjunctivitis. That's pink eye. Contagious disease. An infectious disease that is spread through contact with infected individuals, also called communicable disease. Contact with the bodily secretions of such individuals or with objects that they have contaminated can also spread this kind of disease. Circumcision. The surgical removal of the skin that covers the tip of the penis, usually performed soon after birth. Although circumcision is common in the United States, the procedure is no longer widely recommended as a medical necessity by physicians. Circumcision is practiced as a religious ceremony by Jews and Muslims. Endocrine system. You have the pituitary gland, the thyroid, the thymus, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, the ovaries, and the testes. Endocrine system. The system of endocrine glands in the body. The endocrine system chemically controls the various function of cells, tissues, and organs through the secretion of hormones. The endocrine system includes the adrenal, parathyroid, pituitary, and thyroid glands, as well as the ovaries, pancreas, and testes. Here's the digestive system. The stomach, the pancreas, the large intestines, the small intestines, appendix, duodenum, gallbladder, liver. Diphtheria, an acute disease and contagious disease caused by bacteria that invade mucous membrane in the body, especially those found in the throat. The bacteria produce toxic substances that can spread throughout the body. In developed countries, diphtheria has been virtually wiped out through an active program of infant immunization. Fight or flight reaction. The set of processes that occur in the body when it is confronted with some form of physical or mental stress. For example, if a person is faced with danger, as from a vicious animal about to attack, the nervous system signals for adrenaline and other hormones to be released into the blood. These hormones prepare the body either to confront the attacking animal or to flee to safety. Changes in the body include increased heart rate, dilated pupils of the eye, and increased supply of blood to the muscles. Now they say fight, flight, freeze. And maybe there's another one, but I can't remember. Glaucoma, German measles, an acute disease and contagious disease caused by a virus, producing symptoms milder than those usually associated with measles, which is also called rubella. German measles can cause severe congenital defects in the developing embryo or fetus of a woman who contracts the disease in her first 3 months of pregnancy. Yikes. Gallstones, a hard pebble-like material deposited in the gallbladder or bile ducts by the process of chemical precipitation. Gallstones can cause considerable pain and can even obstruct the flow of bile from the gallbladder. On some occasions, the entire gallbladder must be removed by surgery. Hippocrates. Hemophilia, a hereditary disease caused by a deficiency of a substance in blood that aids in clotting. Hemophiliacs can bleed to death even from small cuts and bruises because their blood has largely lost the ability to clot. Queen Victoria of Britain, whose descendants have been kings and queens of several countries in Europe, carried the gene for hemophilia, which has turned up repeatedly in royal families since her lifetime. Her great-grandson, the heir to the throne of Russia, suffered from the disease, and his parents fell under the influence of the monk Rasputin in hopes of a miraculous cure. The resulting chaos in the government of Russia helped bring on the Russian Revolution and the establishment of the Soviet Union. MRI. Malnutrition. Muscular system. Deltoid. Triceps. Hamstrings. Gluteus maximus. Here's the nervous system, sciatic nerve. Mononucleosis. I feel like when I was a kid, so many people had mono. I don't feel like you hear about that as much now. Maybe you do. I don't know. Sorry, my throat's low. An acute disease and an infectious disease caused by a virus. Its symptoms include fever, swelling of the lymph nodes, and general exhaustion. Mononucleosis gets its name from the kind of white blood cell, monocyte, that increases in number in the blood of a person who has a disease. There is no specific treatment, but sufferers usually recover within a few weeks. It's sometimes called the kissing disease because at one time the virus was thought to be transmitted by kissing. Osteopathy, outer ear. Opium. Parasite, pancreas. Pacemaker. A group of specialized muscle fibers in the heart that send out impulses to regulate the heartbeat. If the heart's built-in pacemaker does not function properly, an artificial pacemaker may be necessary. A small electrical device that also regulates the heartbeat by sending out impulses. An artificial pacemaker may be placed inside the body surgically or may be worn outside. Louis Pasteur, a French scientist of the 19th century, whose work was very important in proving that many diseases are caused by microorganisms. He developed pasteurization, in which fluids such as milk are heated for a specific period of time to kill harmful bacteria. Poliomyelitis, an acute disease and an infectious disease caused by a virus that brings about inflammation of certain nerve cells in the spinal cord. It can have a wide range of effects from mild to severe, including paralysis, permanent disability, and death. In the United States, the disease is now largely vanished because of the development of vaccines against it. The history of polio, which went from a major public health problem to a minor one in a short amount of time, is often used as an example of the benefits of medical research. President Franklin D. Roosevelt suffered from polio. During his presidency, he could not walk unaided. Got the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system. Here's the skeletal system. Tapeworm. A worm with long, flat body that can live in human intestines as a parasite. Infestations with tapeworm usually occurs as a result of eating raw meat or fish that contains the immature form of the worm. Yuck. I think those were the ones in like the 1920s or something in magazines. You could order it to eat to help you lose weight. Does that sound right? Or something like that. Thiamine, one of the B vitamins found in many plant and animal foods, especially wheat germ. Wheat germ. It is needed by the body for metabolism and for proper functioning of the nervous system, also called B1. Trichinosis, a disease caused by eating raw or undercooked pork, infested with a kind of worm that lives as a parasite. The disease is characterized by nausea, diarrhea, and pain and swelling in the muscles. I think that this parasite is in almost all wild boar, but actually not very much pork, like farm pork. But if you eat wild boar, it just, they're just in there. The boars live with it. So make sure you cook it really, really well. Really, like all the way through to kill those. Typhoid Mary, a cook who carried typhoid fever and passed it on to many people in and around New York City in the early 20th century. The term is often applied to the carrier of a contagious disease, or more generally, to anyone who brings bad luck. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting story. I'll do a video on Typhoid Mary. That's interesting. I guess I feel like enough has been done about her, but it's still interesting. White blood cells. Colorless cells in the blood that help combat infection. Some white blood cells act as scavengers by engulfing foreign particles and destroying them. Others produce antibodies or destroy dead cells. My white blood cells are always a little bit high. And every time I get like, oh my gosh, because that can mean like cancer or something. but they never seem worried about it. And it's been like that for like 10 years. I don't know. Vitamins. Withdrawal symptoms. A wide range of physical or emotional disorders, including nervousness, headaches, and insomnia, that occur when an individual who is addicted to a substance, such as drugs or alcohol, stops using the substance. Yeah, I bet that's pretty tricky. All right, well. Rheumatic fever, an infectious disease occurring most often in children who have had a previous infection with a strain of Streptococcus. Rheumatic fever, which is characterized by fever and joint pain, can cause permanent damage to the heart if left untreated. Antibiotics such as penicillin are often used for this disease. This says quarantine, the isolation of people who either have contagious disease or have been exposed to one in an attempt to prevent the spread of the disease. When we were in Croatia, in Dubrovnik, there is an island off of the walled city of Dubrovnik, and they would quarantine people there for 30 days, I think it was, before they let them into the city. Very interesting. I was like, oh, because, if they were sick, they'd find out, I guess, within that time. It was interesting. Parkinson's disease, a chronic disease of the nervous system that usually strikes in late adult life, resulting in a gradual decrease in muscle control. Symptoms of the disease include shaking, weakness, and partial paralysis of the face. Certain drugs can help alleviate some of the symptoms. That's what Michael J. Fox has. And he's put tons of money and time into trying to figure out a cure for it, which shows how difficult some of these diseases are to really treat. Because, he's put a ton into it, everything. Here's measles, an acute disease and a contagious disease caused by a virus and characterized by the outbreak of small red spots on the skin. Measles occur most often in school-aged children, also called rubella. Malaria, an infectious disease caused by a parasite that is transmitted by the bite of an infected mosquito. Persons suffering from malaria experience periodic episodes of chills and fever. Lobotomy. I kind of want to do a video on lobotomy. It's a wild story. A surgical incision into one or more of the nerve masses in front of the brain. A lobotomy may be performed for the relief of certain mental disorders, although it has been largely abandoned in favor of less radical treatments. Because people who have had a lobotomy often become quite passive after the operation, the term is often used to refer to someone who shows a lack of response or reaction. She was so tired she just sat there as if she had been lobotomized. Never heard anyone say that, but left brain. A popular term that describes the analytic, rational, and straight-line thinking functions of the left half of the cerebral cortex. Inoculation, the introduction of an antigen into the body, usually by injection, in order to stimulate the production of antibodies to produce immunity to an infectious disease. homeopathy, a system of treating disease in which small doses of certain substances are administered. In large doses, given to a healthy person, these substances would produce the symptoms of the disease. The principles of homeopathy do not enjoy widespread acceptance in the medical community. Well, they didn't, but now they do. Now a lot of people, whether they know it or not, are pushing homeopathy. You know what they do? They take, I read about it one time. It's like you take the substance and put it, and you get it down to 1,000,000 to 1, and then like dump it out, and then it's just like water, and they say it'll give you whatever. I don't know. Holistic medicine, an approach to medicine that emphasizes treating the person as a whole, with special attention to the interconnections of the mind and body and the systems within the body. Holistic medicine stresses the patient's role in health care through such means as positive attitudes, sound diet, and regular exercise. HDL, abbreviation for high-density lipoprotein molecules that remove cholesterol from the bloodstream and carry it to the liver. HDLs are often called good cholesterol. HDLs are good. Dysentery, a painful disease of the intestines characterized by inflammation and diarrhea. Dysentery may be caused by bacteria or viruses, or may occur as a result of infestation with an amoeba. Oh my God. Dyslexia, difficulty in reading when experienced by persons with normal vision and normal or above normal intelligence. A common example of dyslexia is reading words with the letters in reverse order, as in file or fly. I don't think I have dyslexia for reading, but for writing, I might have. I don't know if that's what it is. I've never been necessarily diagnosed, but I to this day will sometimes make P's and B's interchanged, or what else? I don't know. I just do letters weird sometimes, or backwards. I remember my friend, when we were young, she was like, I think Tom Cruise is hot, but I would never date him because he's dyslexic. I was like, wait, what? Little did she know I was dyslexic, but I was way smarter than her. Cortisone, a hormone secreted by the adrenal glands that is important in the metabolism of fats and carbohydrates. It is used in medicine to treat some forms of arthritis and to reduce inflammation. Metabolism of fats and carbohydrates. Diabetes mellitus, a chronic disease in which carbohydrates cannot be metabolized properly because the pancreas fails to secrete an adequate amount of insulin. Without enough insulin, carbohydrate metabolism is upset and levels of sugar in the blood rise. Cystic fibrosis, a chronic disease and congenital disease that affects certain glands in the body, particularly the sweat glands, the pancreas, and the glands in the mucous membranes of the respiratory system. Cystic fibrosis causes recurring respiratory disorders and interferes with the production of enzymes by the pancreas. Cholera, an acute disease and an infectious disease caused by a kind of bacterium that affects the intestines. Transmitted by food or water that has been contaminated with raw sewage, cholera is often fatal and is characterized by severe vomiting, diarrhea, and collapse. Oh, God. That's so terrible. Chickenpox, a mild but highly contagious disease caused by a virus and characterized by slight fever and the eruption of blisters on the skin. Chickenpox is classified as a disease of childhood, although it can occur in adults. I had pretty bad chickenpox when I was a kid. I still have some scars, like on my forehead. Children who have had chickenpox are immune to future infections by the virus that cause it. Yeah, but you are... It doesn't ever go away. It lies dormant, and then you can get shingles as an adult if you had chickenpox as a kid. So they don't... Do they talk about shingles? I don't think they did. That's weird. They didn't even mention shingles. Cesarean section. Childbirth by surgical removal of the fetus through an incision made in the wall of the abdomen and in the uterus. Usually used as an alternative when natural delivery through the vagina is considered risky. The number of cesarean sections in the U.S. has increased sharply in recent years, causing concern among patients, surgeons, and insurers. I had a cesarean section for my twins, and I'll tell you why. If I can remember. I may have this wrong because it's been so long I don't exactly remember, but... So... It's my Kim Kardashian butt. No, I'm just kidding. So in a perfect world, when you have twins, I'm trying to remember. Oh my gosh. They will be... Like one is head down. Why does this look like Conan O'Brien? Okay. And this would be the first one out. So the head comes out, and then they can kind of... This one has room to flip over and come out. But the way my twins were, they were... I don't really recall if they were just... Oh my God, my art is going downhill. They were like head up and feet first. And I can't remember if the second one was, but anyway, whatever. And so they looked at trying to move them, and they were doing things beforehand to try to get them to flip. But they were big, and there wasn't any room for flipping around or anything. So that's why it can be dangerous. They can get stuck, and if one gets stuck, like back in the old days, we would have probably all died, like all three of us. It would have been bad. But now they can use medical intervention to save our lives. Ooh, black lung. A chronic disease of the lungs caused by inhaling coal dust over long periods. Common among coal miners, black lung is perhaps one of the best known occupational diseases. Black lung. I should probably do a video on that. I've done stuff about the mines a couple of times. Acupuncture, a technique which originated in China for curing disease, relieving pain, or bringing about partial anesthesia by inserting needles into the body at specific points. What do you guys think of acupuncture? I hear such mixed. My husband had it, and he's like, it didn't do anything, I didn't like it, but his dad really thought it helped him. I've heard such mixed things about it, I don't know. Alcoholism, a chronic disease associated with excessive and habitual use of alcohol. The disease, if left unattended, worsens and can kill the sufferer. Alcoholism is marked by physical dependency and can cause disorders in many organs of the body, including the liver, stomach, intestines, and brain. It is also associated with abnormal heart rhythm, with certain cancers, and because of loss of appetite with poor nutrition. The cause of alcoholism is very complicated and most often involves a mixture of physical, psychological, and possibly genetic factors. I don't think there's a possibly. I think there's definitely genetic factors. Don't you think? I mean, I don't know. I haven't read the research, but I'm pretty sure. Chiropractic. Here's another one I don't know what to make of. A system of treating disease that involves manipulation of the back, bone, and other body parts. In chiropractic, disorders of the nerves are considered the cause of illness. I get it, that it's like based on pseudoscience, whatever, I know. I've read stuff. But I get this one spot in my lower back sometimes, like after driving. Like, not even after driving, but like after working. I don't know. Like if I stand all day, I do shows. Sometimes I stand all day, and I think I stand with my legs kind of crossed or something. But it will hurt a lot. And I'll go to the chiropractor, and he'll go, and it's gone. It's fixed. I try to not let him mess with my neck. Although one time, my neck felt kind of locked up. And I did have him do that, and it's been fine ever since. And I know that's like the dangerous one. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Sometimes I still just am like, I gotta go. I gotta go. Congenital, a descriptive term for a disease or condition that is present at birth but is not hereditary. It's present at birth but is not hereditary. You know what? I don't know if I actually knew